Fire Your Boss Fridays. I'm your host, Chad Passa. And right next to me is a spirit that is fixing to change the world with love, Lisa Hart. Now, as we get ready to jump in today's episode, let's do a quick echo of our rebel yell. Say it with me, people. I'm ready to steal my life back, fire my boss, and live a life full of purpose. This isn't just a slogan, it's a directive for change and a signal for all the go getters ready to carve their own entrepreneur path. Today, we have Dr. Amanda, known as the Mindset Healer. She is the founder of Inner Power Daily, an international best-selling author, and she is the host of a podcast as well that is in the 2% globally rated in the country. Is that correct, Amanda? Am I getting that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, top 2%.
Woot. All right. So together, we're between us and her, I think we're going to explore how to align with your inner power to get what you want in your life and business. So Amanda, say hello to our audience and shed some light on how you came to be on this side of the fence on a podcast like Fire Your Boss Fridays.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I love doing this. I love podcasting because they're a huge part of my journey of going from food stamps to six figures in my business in its first year. Because I had this just massive personal fallout where I was on the floor crying one night. I had left my 15-year marriage having an affair. Next relationship not working out. So my boyfriend had moved out and taken all of his stuff out of the basement. So I was sitting on the empty basement floor looking out at this empty space. And I had spent the day on Craigslist looking for places to live, and I couldn't afford anything for me and my three kids. I'm already on food stamps, already working two jobs, trying to get through grad school. And I was crying, feeling very scared. And I was laying there kind of looking at my life and looking for people I could potentially blame for why I was in this situation. And I had the thought, oh, I was in that situation and I was in that situation and that one too. Oh, I'm the problem. And it was this amazing moment because it caused me to realize like I'm the one who has to change. And so I sat up and I made this declaration to myself. And I just said, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to have more money and have a better relationship. And it led me to listening to podcasts because I was already very busy and I needed something free that I could do on the go. And so, podcasts are so amazing because there's a topic for everything that you would want to learn about. And so I started listening to relationship podcasts and mindset and money, and everything in my life started to change. And so at the same time, it was really interesting. My university where I was earning my PhD had this national news fallout where professors were leaving the department, and I decided I don't want to be a professor anymore. And so I decided I'm going to finish my PhD, but I'm going to take the leap into entrepreneurship because all of those podcasters that I was so inspired by were coach type people. And I really loved teaching in university. So I decided when I graduate, I'm going to take the leap into entrepreneurship. So I went from food stamps to six figures in my first year. And now I love to help entrepreneurs master what's up here so they can get what they want in life and business. And I guess we're on a podcast. So when I say master what's up here, your mindset.
Love it. That's a heavy topic, by the way. Yeah, well, I definitely play around with that myself personally. So your journey is pretty interesting. I like that you explained exactly kind of how it transformed and where you were and how you got out. That's like a practical solution that you took, right? Like, and it almost called you, these podcasts, right? Because there's so many varying topics, there's a place for everyone, there's a home for everyone, and there's a solution for most problems, and it's getting better and better every day. And I think that's the beauty of the ability for human beings to make courses or coaching or content or anything, is that we're exploring humanity on a much higher level than the classic indoctrination that comes from the hierarchy of education all the way downstream to the individual. And we're kind of stopping it in that sense and like saying, hey, there's more to this. It's not a black and white. Here, let me tell the gray line story, right? And this is Dr. Amanda's story. It's like that space right here where if you're in this situation going through this exact thing with this type of goals, this is how we can align and we can help you. So I think that's really, really cool. And I am really stoked to talk about harnessing inner power and mindset transformation, but I'm going to need your help, okay? Because I need you to set the stage for our listeners on a huge topic like that. Or should we just like go at them? We can set the stage or just go at them and go for the throat. What do you want to do, Dr. Matt?
I'll go for the throat.
Go for the throat. Okay. So let's not go easy on our listeners today. Let's dive right into this, because mindset, I believe, is one of the hardest things to transform, because it's attached to like core beliefs and their upbringing and experiences, and no one person is the same. We're all unicorns. If you're ever looking for a unicorn, just remember they're running around everywhere. So mindset's a big topic. So how do you open the stage for that, for anyone maybe in your coaching?
Yeah, I always like to tell people, I mean, first, just in reflection of my story and the way that it's happened for me, and then all the people I've gotten to work with, something I really became clear about and designed my whole business around was this quote by Carl Jung. And he says, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And that really impacted me when I heard it, because I thought that's so true. We are creatures running around with all this programming stored in our subconscious mind, and we put it on autopilot. So it becomes everything we think and feel and do automatically. We have 60,000 thoughts a day. 95% of them are the same as yesterday, and up to 80% of them are negative. That's what neuroscientists are finding.
Hmm.
That's crazy if you think about it. So it's no wonder that you keep getting the same results over and over again, because we're the same every day. And so, in order for you to start to change from the inside out, and I tell people your outer world's a reflection of your inner world. If you don't like what you're getting on the outside, change what's within. And that's really the concept of inner power. And I love this concept. I choose inner power daily, right? It's a daily choice. That's why my company is called Inner Power Daily, right? It's a daily choice, and it's a daily game. It's not like, oh, I figured this one thing out and now everything's going to magically be awesome. You got to break it down, and there's layers of our subconscious, and so much of our beliefs and feelings are stored in our subconscious mind. And so when we start to play with it, a really simple thing that I like to help people with is just to question, how do I feel right now? And if you aren't feeling good and you're feeling instead stressed, then you already know that you're setting your future up for stress. So you want to start to reprogram yourself on a daily basis through consistent strategic actions that are actually very, very simple. It's not this big grandiose action that you take. It's daily habits and daily choices that you make that reprogram yourself from the inside out. And over time, even just the course of a year, you can dramatically change yourself and then get different results in the outer
So
world.
it's a practice.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
definitely.
the term of practicing, right? Like just
Yeah.
consistency. But you're bringing in the point of, you can actually grasp the mind, right? It's the metaphor I like to use, and maybe you can validate this for me. Is I wrote a blog about a puppy. The mind is like a brand new puppy, and at first it keeps running out the front door, and hey, get back in here, get back in here, and then eventually enough kind of molding of this puppy, now it knows to just sit in the house, not run out the door, regardless of what distraction is out there, another dog or whatever it is. Well, hopefully your dog does anyway, but the idea is that the mind is like that, right? Like it likes to just go after things. And it's like, okay, cool, I know you want to go see that, it's pretty neat, and you want to entertain it, but we have stuff to do, right? And this goes back to goal setting, right? Like, is how you set a goal. It's not that you can't wander off into the woods mentally, right? But we set some goals. You can't just be wandering around over there. We got stuff to do. So you teach a lot of practical ways though too, right? Like practical solutions. Could you share a couple of those with our listeners? Like one of your favorites. Just give us your favorite.
Yeah, first I want to say that is an incredible example, because we are animals, right? We live by the pleasure pain principle. So we are always seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. And we're very short sighted, just like a puppy, right?
Right.
And it's a perfect example of using a leash to rein it in, right? We
Hmm.
got to go like, wait a second, I want a different outcome. I've got to choose to rein it in, train myself in a new direction. And so, a really simple tool that I use, I journal. I have all my people journal. I have a journaling program for people, because I think of your journal as your Bible of yourself. It's like your
Mm-hmm.
roadmap to manifesting and goal achievement. It's your roadmap to
It's
knowing
my
who you
girl.
are, knowing what you want, and knowing how to get there. And so, daily journaling to me is one of the most incredible tools that you can use. Most people sit down and they're like, what do I write? What do I say? I'm not really sure. And so I love to give people prompts to use on a daily basis so they can start to reprogram, because it takes 3 steps. So my inner power formula for reprogramming yourself and reprogramming your subconscious mind: recognize is step number 1. Step number 2 is reframe, and step number 3 is repeat to
Are we writing this
reprogram.
stuff down, people? Taking the sneak peek right here into Dr. Amanda's world. If
Yeah.
any one of these work for you, I mean, that's a huge impact. I mean, it's a domino effect. So,
Yeah.
in however you do it, could you repeat those for me?
Absolutely. So step 1, recognize. Step 2, reframe. And step 3, repeat to reprogram. So the only way to reprogram your subconscious mind is through repetition or hypnosis. And hypnosis would be something like meditation. Of course, you can go to somebody for hypnosis, but meditation gets you into a hypnotic state. And even journaling gets your brainwaves into a different state. And so you want to start to repeat to reprogram. And so simple questions. So just, if anyone here right now listening, you just ask yourself, what worked yesterday? What didn't work yesterday? That's you following the steps, right? You go, oh, I'm going to recognize what worked and what didn't work. The things that didn't work, I'm going to reframe with new actions and thoughts. And then the things that worked, I'm going to keep doing, and I'm going to repeat, and I'll start to get different results. So that's just one very simple strategy that people can do on their own. And if you do it daily, you will be shocked what changes in your life.
Yeah, amazing. I love your words, and I love your analogies and the way you put it together in the practical sense. That is a big part of our our philosophy here at Steal Your Life Back. It starts with you not letting you are the one kind of letting yourself and your mind wander, right? So steal that back, right? There's things that are taking your attention. Well, and we call it stealing almost, right? Because they're constantly just trying to drag at you and drag at you, and it is a challenge. I'll tell you what, try to walk down the street and not be distracted and just hold your form. And how it started for me, just so you know why I love you so much, Dr. Amanda, is because everything that you stand for, I was able to put into a practical sense one day when I was just starting my meditation journey. And I want to share this with our listeners because I decided I'm just going to sit in the gym, because I didn't know what was meditation. I didn't know when I was meditating and when I wasn't meditating, and when I was just sitting there, and when I didn't know where's the threshold? When is this on and when is it off? And that was a big question that I was asking myself, but I'd heard that a lot in videos that I was watching. What I found though is I sat in the gym. It was a public gym in a hotel, tiny gym. Okay. Maybe 3 treadmills, some junky equipment, and I'm just sitting there. And I thought, I'm going to sit on the floor and I'm going to meditate. Put on my headphones. I could hear people coming in. I could see them staring at me. And I could feel them looking at me and saying these things like, what is this guy doing in the gym? Like, this is a tiny gym. He's sitting there on the floor. And I could hear all these voices and I could feel this energy. And then I just kept sitting there with myself. And eventually I started sending to them like, hey, it's okay. I'm just sitting here meditating. It's no big deal. I started having these conversations with them. And soon all those feelings started to fall apart. And then I forgot I was in the gym, but I didn't forget until I remembered. I didn't know I had forgotten, right? And then I was like, all of a sudden I hear clink, and I came back, and I'm like, oh my God, how long was I gone? How long did I have this momentary lapse of reason where I didn't know I was in the gym? And I thought, I think I was meditating. I think I hit that spot. And I don't know if it's the same for you, but I remember that was like a breakthrough for me. Like, okay, I know that when the world falls away, that I'm in a place of safety, and that's where those thoughts and all this magic is going to happen. And it did. And so from that point forward, I worked on, my mastery, of course. So what do you think of that story there?
I love that so much. That's amazing. It is so incredible when you can drop into that state in meditation and really just commune with your soul, is how I think of it.
Right.
It's like you forget that you're a body and a mind and everything else. Like you just are. You're just being.
Right.
And it's life altering when you can train yourself to do that
and go back there. Yeah, for
sure.
Yeah. So now I actually, one of the things that I like to do is share with people is, hey, when they're like, oh, find a quiet spot, sit down. I say, no, you don't. No, you won't. I say, just go deep, go sit in the park, just go do the thing and try find it. Right. And you'll find it. I mean, everyone has their own way. This is the traditional meditation that we're talking about here. Yeah. There's lots of other angles, but journaling too, I think is really, really powerful. So Lise, did you have a couple of questions you wanted to drop on her? Because I think this would be a great place for you to put those.
So I saw you said you teach people to enjoy money and have a connected relationship with money. So as an entrepreneur, I wouldn't say it's no longer about money. So I kind of feel like a lot of what you hear is, kind of opposite of that. So can you kind of explain that a little bit more, and why is that acceptable when everyone, I feel like, is kind of telling us the opposite, right? It's like, you should just do what you love and don't worry about the money, right?
You hear that so often.
Yeah, I remember this question. I think it's wild how I went to a networking event right before this. And it was with this group of women entrepreneurs, and there was a financial panel today, and I was fascinated by how people talk about money like it doesn't matter. And I think the sentiment we're going for is that we don't want it to be the focus, because that's an end game versus being present in the moment and enjoying the journey. And I think that's really what people are saying when they say that. And in reality, if you're not focused on making money as an entrepreneur, you have a nonprofit. Well, not even a nonprofit, because nonprofits are focused on making money, right? You have a hobby, right? The way that you're an entrepreneur and making impact in the world, part of the feedback system is bringing in money in exchange for value that you give to the world. So I like to teach people win-win exchanges where, hey, of course I get paid to do what I love. That's a win-win exchange. Of course I'm bringing you value. And so I like to think about it as this narcissistic altruistic balance where, the narcissistic side is taking money and the altruistic side is giving value in exchange for your money. And this signals to the universe that you like money. Like, I don't want to send to this universe, like, I don't care about you. Right. It's not about you, right? That'd be like telling a relationship partner, I don't really care about you. This isn't about you. It's about something else. Like, no, I want money to be like, I love you. Let's hang out together. Let's attract more of it.
Let's hang out together. Okay, yeah. I'm putting that in my note. That's going in my journal.
Yeah, so it's this idea of money magnetism means that you want to have a loving relationship, because what you appreciate appreciates. And so the more you appreciate money, the more it will appreciate. And so I like to teach people, yes, it's not the focus. It's not it's not this be do have where you're only focused on the have. Like, once I get the money, I'll be happy. That's not how it works. It's, oh, I'm going to be happy getting the money. I'm going to be happy giving value in exchange for the money. So a win-win equivalent.
Yeah. So exchange. Definitely like a bonus, right? Like, I mean, yeah, you want to love what you're doing, yeah. But I mean, yeah, if you're making that money too, of course you're going to like it even more.
Yeah. Well, and I generally notice it's either people who are very broke who say they don't care about the money, or people who are mega wealthy and already financially free who have had to get from not having a lot of money to having a lot of money. Yeah. So they cared about the money along the way.
What about this transition where people love to make money, but they don't like to spend it? Because I know I'm talking to people, they're like, I don't know if I want to spend that much. It's like, okay, there's this relationship where they only want it coming one direction, but that's why the whole point is it's supposed to be going both directions, right?
The circulation.
Yeah, it has to be moving people. And so there's that conversation too. And we don't have to go way far in the weeds on that, but it's one of those arguments, right? Where it's like, that was me for a long time. I remember I was working really, really hard, and I just hyper focused on, getting to six figures. And then I was like, okay, but every time somebody says, let's do something, or I want to spend something, I didn't want to. I'm like, I don't like spending this at all. Like, I love making it. This is exhilarating, like, but now I got to spend it. I'm like, no, I don't like this. Isn't fun anymore.
So. Yeah. I found there are three main money blocks. I do money stories with everyone I work with. Mm-hmm. And so I've gotten to do them with all different kinds of entrepreneurs at very different income levels. And it's money is bad, money is scarce, and money causes stress. So what you're talking about would be a money is scarce, where it's like, oh, I only want to keep it. I don't want to spend it. So it's like, I've worked with people who make millions of dollars who are freaked out about spending money on little things. Mm-hmm. And so that's a scarcity block, right? Where you're like, it might not be enough. It might not keep growing. What if I spend too much? Right. What if I spend it on the wrong things? And so it's a balanced force, just like you're saying. It's win-win. It's give and receive. It's sowing and reaping, and you keep that cycle going. And this is why I'm in love with spirals. I have spiral tattoos, and I wear earrings and ring, and I love spirals because it's about the expansive growth curve. Okay. So the more you spend, the more you make, the more you make, the more you spend. And it keeps expanding, expanding, expanding. And you can think about this as well. The more you make, the more impact you can have. Right. And so it's not about hoarding and having fear around not having enough. It's about trusting, expanding. And it's like this concept, easy come instead of easy come, easy go, easy come, easy grow. And so you just play with expanding your wealth, expanding your impact.
Nice. Love it.
Yes.
That's so powerful. I love your angle. Dang, girl. You put it
Thank
together.
you.
How long have you been working on this? Because the philosophy is not like you're not breaking ground here, but you're creating your version of it in your voice. How long have you been working on that specifically?
Yeah.
Because it gets better every day. I'm sure it does. The farther you develop yourself and you become a better coach. But yeah, tell me how long it's taken you to get to this point, start to finish. From the tears on the floor to right now.
That was 2018. So I'm in
Okay.
my 5th year of business. And it's been amazing, the journey of breaking through my own money blocks, because that first bump of going from food stamps to 6 figures for me was a lot of hard work. I hustled and I grinded and I stressed and I got there because I had that goal set.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the last few years, I've really slowed down and reevaluated how can I make easy money doing what I love and sharing impact. So it's my mantra is always work less, make more, have fun. And when I say work, it means effortless, like do things I enjoy in my zone of genius instead of being this. I used to even say, hell or high water, I'm getting it done, And now it's like, let's play, let's have fun, let's attract money, let's set my life up the way that I choose and then reverse engineer my income from that place, because you attract through your state of being. And so if I'm energetically stressed to get the money, I'm just going to keep recreating stressful ways to attract money and attract my lifestyle. And so instead I go, hey, let's model okay, let's get into an aligned state of being, of inner power, and be relaxed, be in a state of joy, be in a state of flow, and then attract it to me. And so it's been a journey, because at first, it's like, oh, great, I broke through enough to go from a total scarcity mindset and very victim minded to much more empowerment. I prefer being on the side of the 6 figures than the food stamps. It's definitely easier in the 6-figure life than the food stamp life. Say it again.
You can't have both. Once you hit 6 figures, the city's they're gonna cut you off, or what?
Well, now it's like this evolution. For a long time I was like, oh, I got to get to 7 figures, and there was this push, and then I started learning a lot more manifestation strategies, and I was like, is it a numbers based goal? Is it a feeling based goal? What is the reason I choose to focus on that amount? And so I teach people, you really want to sit with why do you care about what you think you care about?
Yeah.
And what's the number why is that number giving you any inspiration or drive? Because we only take action out of desire, and that desire is coming usually from a place of void where we don't think we have the thing.
No, it has to. Right. I don't remember who said this. I saw it online somewhere, and it just resonated with me. When God gives you a goal or a dream, he doesn't look at your bank account, right? Because if he did, then it would be reality, right? Because the whole idea is this goal. So you're starting with not that goal.
Yeah.
And if it's financial is one of your goals, then you're starting with not enough money to make that goal happen right now.
Yeah.
So, but people don't put that together, essentially. So cool. That she said a couple of mantras there, Lise. I think you were going to ask about one of her words she invented. What was it?
Oh yeah.
Your affirmantras. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's hard to say.
Yeah. Affirmantras. Yeah. So the mix of affirmation and mantras. So my book is I'm a Money Magnet. And it's the top 30 money making affirmantras to manifest more. Interesting. This book is like a very deep dive into your unconscious beliefs about money. So there are 100 journaling questions in here to help you break through your unconscious money blocks.
Interactive book. Cool.
It's amazing. Yeah, really powerful. And it's a lesson every day for 30 days with journaling prompts. And I came up with this concept because most people use affirmations incorrectly. When you tell yourself something that's not true, you automatically trigger resistance because your body goes, well, you're full of crap. That's not true. And so you create resistance. And so you push the thing away that you're affirming instead of attracting it to you.
Interesting.
And so I teach people to use starter statements with affirmations in a mantra-based way, because remember, to reprogram your mindset, you have to repeat. And so you use an affirmation repetitively, mantra style. in a way that your brain 100% believes. So an example of this would be to say the statement, I prefer blank, instead of just saying I am blank. Right. So let's say you're not a 6 or 7 figure business owner and you want to be, and you go, I am a 6 figure business owner. I am, but you don't believe it. You're creating resistance.
Mm-hmm.
So instead you could say, I prefer to become a 6-figure business owner.
Sure.
And you repeat that. You could say, I am committed to becoming a 6-figure business owner, because that could be true for you, right?
Yep,
but if you just say things to yourself that you don't believe to be true, you're actually pushing away the manifestation.
I love that.
Or you're just totally full of shit too.
I love that because so much. Like my logical brain, that makes so much sense to me versus like historically,
all right,
like
look at that. Lisa's going to run off with this.
Affirmations for me. I'm that you just totally described me. Like when someone tells me, say this, and I'm like, but that's not me.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right away, your brain's like, but that's not true. Right. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. So I give 16 starter statements to use in the book that help you know, and then just choose the ones that align with you, where you go like, ooh, I like that one, and just play with it. For me, the reason it's called I'm a Money Magnet is because when I was on food stamps, I heard that affirmation. I'm so used to saying affirmation now. I always say that. I heard that affirmation somewhere and I was like, I like that. So I started saying, like, I'd find a penny in the street and I'd be like, I'm a money magnet. Everything I touch turns to gold. And then I'd be like at the checkout at the grocery store and something would be on sale. And I'd be like, in my mind, I'd be like, I'm a money magnet. Everything I touch turns to gold. And I just started programming myself that way and playing with it. And then I started playing with doing reframes with my clients and having them state things that we would get to the truth, where it would like have them cry and they would resonate with it and they'd feel it in their being. And then they would attract it so quickly. And I was like, this is really cool. There's something to this. And so I like to systematize things when I see them work for many people. I'm like, oh, well, this will work for the world. So if people want free chapters of the book, go to imamamoneymagnetbook.com.
Oh,
and
dropping
they can download
bombs. I'm a money
free
magnet.
Chapters.
Moneymagnetbook.com, right? Is that what you said?
Yep. I am a moneymagnetbook.com. So they can get free chapters. And of course they'll want to buy it. And it's a great book.
Well, if you really want to transform, I mean, so far these little tips and tricks are nailing it. So I actually felt that way too. I wanted to see if this kind of aligns with that. At least you tell me your feedback too. But I've helped a couple of people just within our family, like help them journal. One of the challenges, like you said, is people don't know what to journal or how to, right? So there's just certain elements to where you can everyone always thinks it's the typical TV journal. Today I made a pie and my sister came by and said something. None of that exists. Not in my journal, right? My journal is way, way, way different anyway. And everyone's got their own, but I always felt like I couldn't lie to myself if I wrote it down. I had a really hard time. I could verbally say some bullshit story, but if I went to write it down, I always felt like, oh man, I'm writing something that maybe someone else could see later, or I might see later. You can't BS yourself and then go back. And I think that kind of resonates with what you're saying. And maybe if you feel resistance when you're writing something down, be conscious of that. Feel that I can't get through this sentence without maybe misspelling it, and you just I can't get through that sentence. You feel like you're erasing a lot. Okay, well then it's not aligning with you. That's a clear indication that it's not happening. And so just take a step back and then put the next word below that. Why? Whatever I was trying to write, why, if that was the case, right? So cool. I'm having a lot of fun with you. You're amazing. I love all your affirmantras and everything. So, and she's giving stuff away.
Are you trademarking that? Can we use that term?
I never did, but I thought about it. I was like, that is a great term. And I haven't heard anyone else say it before, which was surprising to me. I'm like, it makes such sense to my brain. Yeah.
So kind of along the money lines also. So you said, are your childhood money beliefs unconsciously blocking your business growth? I thought this was very interesting. And I think depending on your answer, I might have this problem. But can you give us some examples of this?
Yeah, and you are not alone, Lisa, because I would say I've worked with so many different types of entrepreneurs, and I would say I've met one or two that said that their parents taught them like powerful wealth consciousness. The rest are like, nope, that is not what happened in our house. And not to blame our parents, they were doing the best they knew how to do with what they were programmed with. And so, one way, I always ask people, I'll sometimes have people say, I don't have any money blocks. And I'm like, okay, well, how do you feel when you wake up? What are your thoughts about money? And they'll start sharing. And especially for entrepreneur types, it's like they're stressed. So it's like, I always ask, how do you feel? How do you feel about the money you have in the bank? How do you feel about the way you make the money? How do you feel about your future of money? And along that spectrum, there's almost always somewhere where people are like, ooh, I've got a little bit of feelings in there. And so you already know that you have some blocks, and the blocks come from when we were little kids, because that's when our subconscious brain is most programmable, between the ages of 0 and 7. And so what your parents said, and this could be parents, teachers, preachers, the media, siblings, friends, parents that taught you different things about money that you just absorbed like a sponge, because you're not sitting there as a kid deciphering, I choose to believe that, or, oh, that's not a great belief, I'm not going to believe that. Instead, you're just soaking it in. And then because what you believe is what you see in your outer world, you start tracking for it. And then you find validation that it's true, that reinforces it. And then you keep recreating it in the law of attraction. And so let's say you saw your parents fight about money when you were a little kid. And so you coded in your mind, money causes stress. And so now when you start to get an influx of money, or you don't have enough money, or you're just even going to sit down to do your bookkeeping, you feel stress about money. And stress signals to the universe, your plate is full, don't bring me opportunities, because that low level state of stress is like, not a time to be creative, not a time to be open. Instead, it's a time to lock down and be protective of yourself. And so that's just one simple example of how this plays out, our childhood money beliefs, and how they block our business success.
Yeah. So for me, I think my biggest thing was my grandpa actually was like a huge saver. And it was like he had quite a bit of money in the bank, but he would not spend nothing, not a dime ever. So I grew up thinking, like that was the only way, and that you couldn't ever spend money, and so it's this thing where I'm like, I still I'm better, I think, but I still kind of always have that in the back of my brain.
Yeah, I'm the one in the relationship. She's like, you love to live the luxurious life, don't you? And I'm like, what do you mean? We're just buying dinner here. Like, she's like, I'm living on the edge in her mind, so.
Yeah, which is amazing, right? And when you look at that, it's like if you could take your brain out and like plant each other's brains on a platter and then write out all the money beliefs and then mix them up. Now you got to figure that out as a partnership. Like, woo, there's a lot in there, right?
Absolutely.
And it's amazing because you just want to ask yourself, a really fun question for both of you and your audience would be, just to say, if you could write down in one sentence, what was my family's money motto, what would it be? And so to give examples, like a lot of people will say, you got to work hard to make money. That was a big one that's instilled into us. Money doesn't grow on trees. There's never enough. We can't afford that. Those types of things.
Stop
And so you want to
these
think
things.
about,
you're making me depressed already. Just say all those. I thought you were all about positivity. Just like all these negative things, all in a row. Just like,
yeah, right. But the wild thing is, you can't break through your BS until you actually face it.
mm-hmm.
Right. And so you get to question these things and go, oh, okay, well, I was programmed to believe that I got to work really hard to make money, which was a huge one for me. So I'm a hustler, right? I've chosen to take breaks and slow down and design my business in a different way, because I'm like, I'm done with making stressful money. Screw that. I'm tired of that. And it's a practice constantly. Like, because for me, that was my money operating system. Like, I was completely stuck in that for a lot of my life. And it's still a practice for me. And so, everyone here, it's like giving you hope to know that it's reprogrammable, and it's going to take time and practice, daily practice.
Daily. Yeah, because another one, Lise, we've talked about this before, busy. People who are really busy all the time, like busy. I call them up. What are you doing? Oh, I'm really busy. You're like busy every time I call you. Like, you ever not doing anything? No, we've got stuff going on all the time, man. Like, okay, well, see you later.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But that's their idea of success. That means they're dying basically if they're not busy. right?
Yeah.
So that's another one. You mentioned earlier that podcasts help you open your eyes to your goals, right, in the beginning. Big question for you. Many listeners might be curious about the origins of these transformative ideas that you have. Did all of them originate from like podcasts, books? Like your exploration in these concepts, they evolved, I'm sure, right? And then through experience, your personal experience, then you had to document them. Was there a specific path that led you to uncover these strategies for reprogramming energy, mindset, and habits? Or, and then two parts to the question, why that? I mean, all the
Why
things you could do, right? You could just do anything because you're obviously an amazing person. So why'd you pick that thing that you're about ready to describe?
Oh, juicy questions. I love these. Yeah, I would say first, I love this quote by Rumi. He says, "As you take a step on the way appears." And I think if everyone lived that way, they would be so much more successful because that's really what manifestation is. You get inspired, you take a step, and then the next step is shown to you. You do
Mm,
not need to know step A to Z. You just need to know
boom.
step A to B, right? That's it.
I
And so
mean,
that's what I did. And it just showed itself to me. Every step, just a new teacher would appear, the next podcast, the next book, the next workshop. And I just listened. And I was, you said something about meditating in the gym and how, you were thinking like, what is meditation? And it made me think about how I feel like when I'm in this podcast situation, like, and I love this, like, I feel like I'm meditating. It's like, I'm so present and I'm so like on the edge waiting for the next, and I'm not thinking about anything else, right? I'm like present fully here right now.
mm-hmm.
And so when I podcast or when I'm on other people's podcasts, it feels like a meditative, blissful state to me. It's like I get to share, you get to share, we get to learn and talk together, and then the audience gets to learn, and it's a win-win-win all the way around. And so I love to give people the tidbits on the path. And I have so many people say to me, when that saying, when you're ready, the teacher will appear, and you're my teacher, and I'm just the next step on their way. Right? I'm probably not the last step on their way. I'm just a step on the way.
Mm-hmm.
And they found me at the perfect time because I'm the perfect teacher that knows the things that they don't know yet. And I'm just a step ahead of them. And that's it. Right. And so it's like, if you just listen to yourself, and when I say listen to yourself, I think of it often as like divine guidance, it's intuition, it's cosmic connection, and it takes slowing down to hear it. If you don't slow down, you can't hear it. You
Stop
can't
being
feel
busy.
it. You can't experience it. Exactly. So busy. I talk to people about the curse of busyness. You never have any room on your plate for the universe to bring you any opportunities when you're too busy. So you've got to choose to slow down so that you can hear the next step and see the next step.
Isn't that why people who lose everything always have the most amazing stories? Because they open the whole plate. Everything's new. Bring it on. And I think that is a perfect kind of lead in right there on that. Like, and how you had that where you were down to nothing. There was plenty of room for improvement, right? As far as your space, right? Especially financially. And a lot of people might think the same thing, like, hey, there's room for improvement within you, but what are you filling that space up with that's taking your time, your mental clarity, your money? And I think that's another big thing that like I'm a big supporter of, and a lot of my teachings is all about that mental clarity and time and money. What's taking it from you? That's what we're stealing it back from, right? I mean, it's something else is coming for it. And if you don't figure it out, and like, it's just going to come after you. It's constantly chasing you, and you've got to gain control of that and put it into, and channel anything that you have in the right direction. I say right because you picked it. I mean, this is part of the manifest. It's not like Dr. Amanda, you said clearly there's this sense of faith in that next step, but at the same time you had an energy that you were carrying, and that's your goal or dream, right? You can't, it's not a leap of faith into nothingness. You already had like a backpack of where you wanted to go. You were ready for this journey to this place. But instead of, waiting for something to happen, that's, more about that step is just go, and it's there. There's something there in the manifest waiting for you. And tell me your thoughts on this. I think you might like this one too. Darkness is not an energy within itself. It's like the moldable part of the universe. that you walk into, and it can be anything. And the story goes that the father brings his son to the stump in the woods, and he says, "I'm blindfold you and leave you here all night, and in the morning you'll become a man." Obviously women too. I mean, there's some maturity to be made there, but just for the sake of the story, people, don't cancel me. Anyway, so the father leaves his son, blindfolds him, and then during the night, all these noises in the woods, right? And he's just like, his mind is wandering to a million different places and thinks he's going to die on this stump in the woods. But in the morning, his father lifts it off and he says, "Well, what happened?" "Well, the story is, oh, this happened and that happened. Oh, and all this, almost died. Well, I was sitting next to you all night." And so the mind essentially can take darkness and do anything it wants with it. Okay, so if that's true, and we're, for the sake of the thought experiment, if that's true, this really plays into, your storyline and how you teach people, is like, we're molding that darkness and we're bringing light to it. And that's what we've got to do. If we've got to take, our thoughts are bringing light into that darkness, and that's the manifest, is you get to mold it into whatever you want. And the mind is capable of anything. Trust me on that one. When you can think a lot of crazy, I mean, watch movies these days, those thoughts, I'm like, who thought of that? Like, whoever that person is that thought of that, that's crazy. So that really tells you how far what the mind is capable. And I know everyone on a personal level, all of our listeners probably feel the same way, right? Your husband didn't come home on time, or your kids, that's a big one, right? And your mind just goes like to the deepest, darkest place immediately, right? And so that's a good practice then, right? Wouldn't you say? On how to reel that back. That's an opportunity to practice anyway, wouldn't you say? What's your feedback on that analogy?
I love all of that so much. I love to think about shadow work. Like, it reminds me of shadow work, right? It's like, we're so afraid of our shadow. And instead of just embracing and accepting and looking and sitting and watching and observing ourselves, that's the master. That's the inner power master, right? Like, you go, I can slow down to respond instead of react. I can sit with my thoughts and my feelings. I had an amazing conversation. It's just like what you're saying. Are you willing to sit in the discomfort? Right? If you're willing to sit in the discomfort of that dark, wow, so much transformation can happen, because you realize that it's all made up in your mind. And you're right.
Well, it can be. I mean, right? That's the whole thing, is like, don't underestimate your mind. It's an amazing thing.
It is so powerful. I mean, we have 60,000 thoughts a day, right? 95% the same as yesterday, 80% negative. That's wild to think about, right? And
these ones have all been positive, by the way. I'm just gonna
yes. But I mean, we're trained, like, our being is wired for survival, so it's tracking for negative. So you actually have to train yourself to the positive. We're not automatically wired to look for positive things. We are trained and wired for survival, which is to look for threat. And that's the darkness, right? And in reality, the darkness is meant to help us grow. It's meant to help us sit. It's meant to help us be. It exists so that you can have the spiral growth curve. Because if you think about the darkness, it could be the downside, right? And if you don't have that downside, you're never going to evolve to the next quantum leap evolution of yourself, because there's no challenge. You're overly supported if you have no darkness. Right. And so you got to play with facing this stuff. And it is scary. I think one of the hardest things for me in my life was sitting in discomfort. I would do everything I could to avoid pain. And until I was willing to just sit in the discomfort, everything stayed the same. Because I just would avoid, right? Through, it could be overworking, another degree, I mean, sex, alcohol, like anything, TV, like anything I possibly could to avoid sitting in the discomfort.
Right. That sounds like my daughter, Elizabeth, like just any sort of like nothingness. Just is way too much. That's really, really heavy. And that's scary though. So you need to ask yourself, why is that scary? I seen once on the wall, one of those big wall murals in Portland that resonates with what you're saying. It said, sometimes I sit and think, and sometimes I just sit.
I love that.
And I was like, wow, okay, that's cool. Right. Yeah. Can you do that? Can you do that? Right?
It's
like,
wild, isn't it?
Right. Can you shut the brain down? Really? All right. Let's see it. Show me.
Yeah.
Show me how you shut it off. You have become a Jedi warrior.
Oh, wow. It's so true. I was running yesterday and I was listening to Mickey Singer. I love Untethered Soul. And he has taught me so much about that piece, sitting and realizing that you are not your thoughts, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
being like, who is it that's observing the thoughts you're having, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you were just sitting and being, you're just your spirit or your soul, or, it's like
Right. What is
consciousness. You're
that?
just
Right. Yeah.
pure consciousness. And so all of a sudden it's just like, when you really get that, you're like, wow, there's like a crazy person running my life.
Right. Right. Who's this person with all this craziness? Right. Yeah. I've
Yeah.
had to take people down that journey too, but I went down it, of course, first. Right.
Yeah.
I was blinded by myself or ego or and I'm no expert or master in this space by any means, but I definitely have some things to share as you do. What's your thoughts on that? You're clearly believe in the mind and the power of the mind and success. There's this controversy that I've been battling because I really resonate with the stuff that you definitely preach and share and teach, and that ego versus flow. Like if I'm going to manipulate my mind now, am I, how you just described, I think this is a great transition. There's the thing or spirit before the mind, watching the mind and these thoughts. And okay, so if that's true, but then if I start to use those thoughts to manifest, like, am I jumping into ego and then do I have to jump back out? And like, I know it might be heavy. And if it's too much in the weeds for you, I totally understand.
I love the weeds. I mean, yeah, this is the stuff I geek out on all the time, right? I'm like, is manifesting ego driven?
Mm-hmm.
I think it is. Like, if Neville Goddard said the end of longing is being. I love that statement. And it's so true, right? The end of longing is being. And simultaneously, you wouldn't create anything if you just sat in that state all day. Like, you would just
Right.
be a source of love.
Well,
That's
we're
it.
supposed to be creators. That's my take on it. Like,
Yeah.
okay, you should
Yeah.
be creating something somehow, and just even thoughts, just a thought, I think creates consciousness. That's why our
Totally.
consciousness is growing, because we are
Yeah.
all thinking and creating and speaking and writing and, art and music. And that's creating this huge energy of consciousness. And I think that's us, all of us, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially as entrepreneurs, right? I
Yes.
love what you're saying, because it is so true. It's like, okay, the end of longing is being. So you're just being. And whatever you are being in your consciousness is what you're expanding out into the universe. So let's say in your ending of longing is just the pure inspirational force of creating.
Mm-hmm.
You're just
And that's it.
inspired.
That's the whole
So you're
point.
just taking inspired action. That's it. And then whatever gets generated from that is your returned manifestation in
Yeah.
physical form.
Yeah.
And so that's what I like to tap into with people and play with for myself. And so, yeah, there's that balance of like, are these goals, I teach manifestation based goals, because it's very different than like, here's the bottom line with this number. And, like
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't work in an energetic force, right?
Sure.
If you can play with your energy and really get aligned, everything feels good because you feel good.
Right. Well, and you've proven it essentially, right, on your own. I don't know if I should drop this on you, but obviously this plays into placebo, right? Like everything. And I know that's not your specialty, but I love the debate. If anyone's just looking for validation that moving energy in the mind and all that is maybe not for you, just understand that everything that gets tested in this world gets tested up against placebo. And remember, placebo is just the mind. It's just a fancy word for up against the human mind, right? And the human energy. Essentially, to a scientist, they say, is this going to work without the help of the human mind? And it's like, okay, well, we can prove that it worked without the help of the human mind. And that's the only time that it gets validation. Otherwise, it gets scrapped and it's not allowed to be put on the market. Usually drugs get thrown against placebo all the time, but really it's a battle between what the mind can do on its own and what scientists are saying they can do or manipulate the human body or human mind to do. And it's so beautiful to say the mind is in this battle right now. We're like, don't tell me what I can and can't do, and quit putting the test on me, because I'm proving it to you every single day. And it is essentially in science all the time.
Yes, so many good things.
Right.
I love to think about and meditate on, really, like, how can you resource the truth of what is, and let go. Like, and so my PhD is in sociology, which is wild because I'm always thinking about, environmental effects. And then in the coaching world and the way that I think about quantum physics, I'm thinking about how you are your reality, and they're always interacting together. Right. So I think it's impossible for us to remove our effect on our outcome. Like it's impossible, and like, I love the concept of placebo, and it's like, you are the placebo.
You should sit with it, right? I think every person should at least sit with it for a minute, right? And just play with the idea that, like, okay, well, what is this all about, right? Not that you have to live by that whole philosophy or whatever, but I mean, it's out there. Like, it's being tested daily. So thanks for taking that trip down the rabbit hole or in the weeds there for a little. Not technically in the weeds, but it can get hairy in this space, right? And that's why I said at the beginning of the podcast, this is a big topic, guys, because when we're talking about your core beliefs and your core, who you are and what you bring to the world is so important. And it's your reflection on the world that is your mind. The way I look at it, when I think of everything that's going on in my head, if I keep it in there, no one knows what's going on. That's my universe. Okay. And then I get to share this one that we're all in right now. So with you on this podcast, I get to share my universe with your universe. And the best way to do that is through speaking, writing down, drawing, art, like all these ways of expressing what's in my universe with the universe that we all share, right? That I believe there's two universes going on, and I get to do whatever I want in my own head, right? Nobody can tell me what I can and can't do. But when I share a universe, which is the one we're all here manifesting together and we're creating, when we share that one together, I have to play a little by some rules here, right? I can't just go throwing my universe all over everybody, right? Like, we have to we're kind of cohabitating this universe, this manifest. And so that's the way I look at it. It's like, bring your authentic, cool version of yourself, whatever you can, bring it and try serve on that level. What's your take on that? Like, that, I know it's might be a different twist, but
yeah, you said something like we have to. I always reframe have to choose to. So in my mind, anyone who's hanging out here with us right now is choosing to co-create with us.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what you're talking about. Like, it's their choice, what's going on in their mind and what they choose to opt into. It's our choice to collaborate today and share our wealth of knowledge, our experiences. And so it's like, I always think of it as, I love the ripple effect of who you attract to co-create with.
Right.
And then it's expansive. Like, all three of us here together right now, then impacting the world in, like, globally, right? Like, podcasts reach a global audience, which is so freaking cool. Like, somebody right now, when they're listening to this, could be sitting in Africa having a completely different reality than my reality in my physical realm, but then we're connecting on this intellectual, spiritual plane. And it's like, I just think that's, like,
it is beautiful.
Incredible.
Well, thanks. Yeah. Well, and we're all just trying to stay in touch too, right? That's cool. So, Lise, did you have one? I think you had one more. Did you want to do some of our traditional questions, or do you think we've went too far in the weeds to come back to reality?
No, I think I got all my questions. I mean, although I could have many more, because I was like perusing your website and I'm just like, wow, there's so much good stuff here. I'm going to spend a lot more time on there, I think.
Well, we don't have to plug the book
That's
or the
awesome.
podcast or anything
Thanks
like
for the
that.
feedback.
Yes. Because you did a great job of bringing that into the equation here. And I love it because it's everything you stand for. And I think your purpose really is to get that message out. And I can feel that that's a genuine and authentic purpose. And I love the way you're developing it every single day, and you're growing and your 5-year journey. And so, huge shout out to Dr. Amanda for putting this together. Remember, guys, it doesn't happen overnight, and it didn't for her either. But in 5 years, you could create something substantial that makes a real impact on the world for sure. But if you need help identifying that, I think she's your chick. Well, good. So, Dr. Amanda, if they wanted to reach out to you right away, what's the best way? I mean, not everyone checks all their social platforms. Which one do you hang out with on the most?
I hang out the most on Instagram. So Inner Power Daily is my handle. So Inner Power Daily. most on Instagram. But I would say, like, if you liked the conversation today, you'll love my podcast. So Inner Power Entrepreneur is the podcast. And then, I've got, like Lisa said on the website, I've got tons of free stuff. I've got really cool, inexpensive programs for journaling. I've got group coaching. I've got all kinds of cool stuff. So just everything Inner Power Daily. If they type that in, they will find my website, my handles, all the good stuff, all the free stuff. Of course, the book, like we talked about, IamAMoneyMagnetBook.com, and they can get free chapters and start playing with their money mindset.
Yeah, and I wanted to share too is that what you're doing is a space that is, someone could outgrow you. Wouldn't you say that at some point they find their way, right? Like you feel like you found your way that so far as much that you like turn around and try serving others, in the same vein of things. But really what you're hoping for is someone to find their way through the journaling, through developing the mind and the practice, finding their practice and aligning. And once they've really came to some full alignment, that's what comes full circle. And then it starts giving its own feedback, right? Is that true? Wouldn't you say?
Definitely. Yeah. It is interesting. You said I've had people work with me for years and different than I would say therapy. With coaching, you learn to coach yourself. And then at the same time, I notice with the people who come into my world, I tend to attract people who are growth minded like me. And so we all grow together. So we just keep scaling our levels of growth. And so I don't have people outgrow me often. And if they did, and they teach me, awesome, totally 100% open to that. I'm about people becoming the most empowered versions of themselves and just feeling good with themselves, with their life, with their spiritual life, their business, their money, like everything. Like I want to hang out with high vibe people. That's who I choose to hang out with. And so, my communities are all built around that. And so I think it attracts a certain type of person who likes to stay in that high vibe community.
Oh, amen. All right, high vibe people, where are you? She's looking for you. Awesome. So there you have it. Another enlightening episode of Fire Your Boss Fridays. We hope you've enjoyed our conversation with Dr. Amanda as much as we did. Remember the wise words of Carl Jung. Do you want to drop that quote on us one more time from earlier?
Sure. And until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate.
Dr. Amanda shed some light on how understanding the depths of your mind can reshape your path to success. And speaking of understanding the mind, she also showed us how to grasp your mind firmly by journaling, reprogramming your habits, making a conscious choice. Remember, she mentioned that a few times. These are choices, and I think she even corrected me. You're taking charge of your destiny, guys, and it's just part of the journey in developing and going in your way. So rebels, go out there and explore the uncharted territories of your mind. Make the unconscious conscious, reprogram it with intention, and watch your journey to becoming a successful entrepreneur unfold. Thanks for tuning in, and remember to keep firing your bosses with the power of knowledge and self-awareness. Stay curious, stay fierce, and we'll catch you next time on Fire Your Boss Fridays. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Thank you.